What's up, y'all? It's Chris here to do some hopefully brief UFC 137 afterthoughts. I didn't have time to do it last night. I don't have a lot of time right now because, one, I still got to prep for the radio show today, and two, I want to get done because UFC primetime Velasquez versus Dos Santos is coming up very shortly, I believe, and I want to watch that. Anyways, as for UFC 137 overall, the event, for the most part, in my opinion, sucked. Thankfully, the main event was insane, but the majority of the pay-per-view portion of the card was really slow, really tedious, and just not very entertaining. It just dragged. It was not on the level of the last few UFCs. Real quick though, on the Facebook fights, Ramsey Nijem hustled Danny Downs. Good performance for him. Brandon Vera got a split decision win over Elliot Marshall. He looked garbage. Maybe all the people that thought Brandon Vera would be better at light heavyweight were wrong. Maybe he really is better served at heavyweight, even though he'd be dwarfed by a lot of the bigger guys in that division now. But either way, Vera's just never going to be the fighter that I think a lot of people, myself included, thought he had the potential to be. Spike TV card, Bart Palczewski, surprising upset win, knocking out Tyson Griffin in the first round. A great win for Bart. Shouts out to my boy, the dirty white boy, Jason. He called it. I was wrong. Credit to you, and big win for Bart. Made a big got a big win in his UFC debut, a bit of a statement win to announce the division. Now that he's moved down to 145, I'm here and I'm bringing the ruckus. Donald the Cowboy Cerrone, one of my favorite fighters in sports, said time and time again, showed once again why, made quick work of Dennis Seaver, beat him up on the feet, finished him off on the ground. Cerrone's making a serious run, man, and if you really look at Cerrone's skills, the way he's coming together, who's to say he can't make a run at the title next year? I mean, do you really think that Frankie Edgar has the skills and the style to dominate Donald the Cowboy Cerrone? Because from what I've seen, I don't. I honestly think that is a good fight. If Edgar's the champion by the time Donald gets there, if he does, I think Donald's a legitimate threat to, Frankie Edgar or Ben Henderson or whoever holds the title. But so I'm looking forward to see Cowboy 2012. Although he said he wants to fight again in December, so hey, if he wants to, UFC, Dana White, make it happen. Joe Silva, because love watching the Cowboy fight, man. Great fighting style, great attitude towards fighting, and just an awesome dude, man. The dude's just a beast. All right, next up, Scott Jorgensen, Jeff Curran. This was on the pay-per-view. The first fight was Hioki, George Roop. Honestly, this fight kind of sucked, in my opinion. Hioki, when he got the takedown and he was in mount, he did nothing with it. This is a guy that you can tell really hasn't thrown elbows, used elbows in his career, because it seemed like he didn't know how to effectively or didn't even try. No good ground and pound, just held positioning, didn't really go for any submissions that were close. On the feet, Roop had the better of it. Roop showed good defense, from the mount, from being mounted so long. Never was really in real trouble, but just a disappointing performance by Hioki in his UFC debut, even if he got the win. Jorgensen, Jeff Curran. I thought Jorgensen was going to run over Curran. He didn't. I'll say this for Jeff Curran. I think that maybe he studied the Cruz-Jorgensen fight because he landed a lot of good shots standing. I thought he got the better of the stand-up over Scott Jorgensen. But Scott Jorgensen used his superior size and strength to get the fight to the ground as a wrestling. And although Curran did try for some submissions, some sweeps and whatnot, Jorgensen got the better of it there and got the decision. But, not the best fight. Not the worst, but not the best. Mirko Cro Cop, Roy Nelson. Fight pretty much went as expected, Although I was impressed that Roy Nelson was able to come into this fight in such better shape. Definitely lost a lot of weight. Is seemingly taking his career more seriously. That's good to see. Looked more effective in the fight as well. He was in a bit of danger in the second round when Cro Cop was teeing off on him. But Roy Nelson has always showed toughness above all else, I think. That's something that you can never question with Roy Nelson, and that helped him in this fight. Got Cro Cop down at the end of the second round. And that crucifix, which it's one of his go-to moves. And pretty much demoralized Cro Cop in the second round. The third round, heard Cro Cop standing, finished him off on the ground, and good one for Roy Nelson. Good to see he's back on track. And as for Cro Cop, if this was his last fight, thank you for all the great memories while you were in Pride. Sorry your UFC run didn't go so well, but I did enjoy watching your fights and always in anticipation of one last high kick knockout, even though we never really got one in recent years. Co-main event of the night, this fight sucked. Matt Mitchell and Chet Congo sucked. Congo wins the fight by unanimous decision. Could have been a draw. Who cares? I think the biggest thing I noticed in this fight was Matt Mitchell fought a lot more hesitantly, cautiously than he has in the past. He wasn't as aggressive. The way I looked at it was, I thought maybe he was afraid of getting caught with that right hand counter that Che Congo has blasted out Pat Barry with, as well as dropped Cain Velasquez with. It looked like that was his issue to me. He was afraid of getting caught with that, so he didn't want to go in. Never was really as aggressive as he's been in the past, and yeah, he let Congo get the win. Congo dominated the third round from top position, but good win for Congo, I guess. Mitrione showed he's not on the level. I'm not surprised the way it turned out. It just was a disappointing fight, though. Main event, Nick Diaz, BJ Penn. Great fight. Exciting fight. One of the best of the year. Probably my favorite fight thus far this year. Sure, I'm a Nick Diaz fan. My favorite fighter in the sport. So I'm biased. But this fight was all that the fans wanted to be and more. BJ did good in the first round. Thought he might have edged it out just because he got the takedown, went for a submission, even though he wasn't really close to getting it. But it was good to see two slick, just badass grapplers on the ground go at it, even if it wasn't for an extended period of time. Second round, Nick Diaz did what Nick Diaz does, and he beat the living hell out of his opponent, that being BJ Penn in this case. I honestly thought he was going to stop BJ Penn in that round. He was just whipping BJ's ass. Really, after that round ended, I mean, he was just piling it on. After that round ended, I told my friend I was watching the fights with, I said, I bet you BJ Penn doesn't make it to the third round. He said, no, I don't want to bet that because I don't think he will either. Well, I was wrong, and I was glad I was wrong. BJ Penn, after that second round, looked like he did at the end of the second GSP fight. He looked demoralized, he looked tired, he looked beaten. But he came out, whether he knew in his mind or not, that this was going to be his last stand as a fighter. He came out there and he showed a lot of heart, the heart of a champion. And BJ Penn's been questioned in the past and he's been beaten down. And his, his determination, not his heart, but whether or not, he really gave it his all. But he did in this fight, no doubt. He went out, not on his shield because he didn't go out, he didn't get knocked out. But he went out like he should have went out. He stood toe-to-toe, and he offered a lot more in the third round, even after taking that ass whooping, than he did in the second. He landed a lot of good shots in that last round. A lesser fighter than Nick Diaz, or a fighter with a lesser chin than Nick Diaz, probably would have been hurt or knocked down. BJ Penn landed a lot of solid punches in that round. Unfortunately for BJ, Nick landed more shots and just, accumulated more and did more damage. BJ was already 2 more worn down and really hurt Nick at that point. But a great third round, a great fight. I think it went perfect. I'm glad BJ didn't get knocked out. I think it was great the way it ended. I don't understand why Nick was so mad afterwards. Hold on. This UFC on Fox is about to start. I want to record it so I don't miss the beginning. But yeah, I don't know why Nick was so mad after the fight. I'm like, damn, can you imagine if Nick lost the fight, how pissed off he would be? But yeah, it was funny watching him get Jason Perillo's face. Call out GSP, and it was effective. GSP versus Nick Diaz in, I guess, January, February, end of January, early February. So Nick's getting what he wanted. And I guess GSP's going to get what he wanted now. And I'll say this. Anderson Silva, take note of George St. Pierre. When a challenger calls you out, the number one contender, don't try to avoid the fight. Make the fight happen. It's what the fans want. It's what the challenger wants. And as a champion, it should be what you want. And I'm glad George St. Pierre went out of his way to tell Dana White he wanted Nick Diaz next, and that's the fight we're going to happen. We're going to see happen. All right, that's it for now, guys. Want to hear your thoughts on the event? Did you think it sucked as much as I did? What do you think about the main event? Are you glad that Nick Diaz is going to get the next shot at GSP? And how do you think he'll do in that fight? And, you don't have to tell me anything during that fight. But do you think he has enough time to recover? He had a pretty bad cut. Obviously, he's got to get that fixed. And he's got to start a new training camp. I hope he has enough time to get a full training camp in after recovering from the work he's going to need done on his eye. But either way, I'm looking forward to the fight. And Nick Diaz showed once again, he saved the event in my opinion, and he showed once again why he's my favorite fighter in the sport. I'll be talking about these fights as well as previewing UFC 138 on Science Fights Radio Show shortly. You can check it out live, link in the information part of the video. If you can't check it out live, you can always check it out on demand or podcast. That's it for now, guys. Till next time, I'm out.